Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Ozzie Newsome, the general manager, and their head coach, John Harbaugh, want Colin Kaepernick on the team. They believe he is better than what they have right now.
I am directing my comments when I say stay off the weed. I'm talking about these idiotic athletes. I challenge anybody to show me one joint that has been worth millions.
Happy 40th, Tom Brady. And what do you get him?
I get him touchdowns. Got to catch the ball. That's all he wants.
Now, here's Mike and Mike.
Welcome, everybody, to Mike and Mike. It is Thursday here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Tweets through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. I am Sean Farnham once again in today. He is Super Bowl champion Willie Colon. Willie, what's up, my man?
What's going on?
Do you know what today is? I'm so excited for today.
Yeah, I mean, it's football. Football has arrived.
There's actually going to be a ball snapped, and there's going to be a handoff, a couple of passes, and a lot of guys that we've never heard of on a football field. But
it's usually that time of the year when everybody is going to see a guy who usually either pumped their gas or was a babysitter for them kick off a game today at the Hall of Fame game.
And then there's some quarterbacks that used to be in the Super Bowl that still want to play that aren't. Nevertheless, it is time for Off the Top.
Off the top.
All right, we get started. First, Tom Brady, 40 years old today. Tom Brady owns the most regular season wins, 113, playoff wins, passing yards, passing touchdowns of any quarterback in their 30s in NFL history. But you know how old he is?
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Yeah, he's turning 40 today. New milestones that he's looking to accomplish after he turns 40 is starting in the Super Bowl and starting all 16 games this season for the Pats.
I mean, he's setting a trend. I mean, he's talked about it time after time. He wants to play into his 40s. He takes great care of his body. It's interesting because that's starting to become the new wave. We talk about him and James Harrison and guys who are kind of creeping up there. What are they willing to do to get on the field? And it's starting to work for them now. Can they turn it over? And if Brady wins another Super Bowl, I mean, Jesus. I mean, he has to start his own clothing line at this point.
Well, he might start his own clothing line. He's already got his own line. He's got pretty much everything else. I don't think any of us feel sorry for Tom Brady.
He's the guru pick of the NFL.
All right, the NFL preseason officially kicks off tonight. It's the Hall of Fame game at 8 p.m. Eastern time between the Cowboys and the Cardinals. The Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony takes place on Saturday. It includes Cowboys owner Jerry Jones and Kurt Warner, who played in the Super Bowl against, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That is us,
yes.
so to speak. Yeah.
Yes, your ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
shining bright, if you will.
Yeah, I'm sure you wish, Kurt. Yeah. Do I get a ring? Because you said us. That is true. You said us. Do I get a ring?
We're in it together. Top.
All right, the Dodgers lost, folks. The Dodgers lost. This is shocking, right? They seemingly win every single time they take the diamond, unless they are playing the Atlanta Braves. They lost 5-3, snapping their 9-game win streak. They also snapped a 53-game win streak when taking a lead at any point in a game, the longest streak in Major League Baseball history since July 4th. How about this? The Dodgers are 17-0 against all teams not named the Atlanta Braves. They are 3-3 against the Atlanta Braves.
Listen, they're 14 games on top of the NL West. There's nothing to panic here. It was a tough loss, but this team is in cruise control. They're going to take it over, so I'm excited for them. I'm just waiting for the playoffs to start already. Enough with this.
Did you say playoffs?
Yeah, playoffs.
Off the top.
All right, Sonny Gray will make his first start with the New York Yankees on the road against the Indians. Gray allowed 7 runs earlier this year in his first start against Cleveland, which tied for the most he's ever allowed in a game in his career. Overall, Gray has allowed a 5.87 earned run average in 4 starts in Cleveland compared to just 3.13 ERA in all other parks that he visits. But for the Yankees, he gets the start.
This is right on time. I mean, they're trying to make a push. I think Cashman has done a great job of really getting this bullpen together. CeCe Sabathia talked about it. You know, this team started to feel like 2009 when they won it. You know, can this guy be a starter for them, and can he get in the rotation and make this thing go? Because they need pitching. If you want to go far, your bullpen has to be solid.
All right, and that is
Off the Top.
Off the top for today. Now it's time to focus on what everybody's talking about, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. And to me, look, we're going to talk Kaepernick. We're going to get into all the circus that continues to surround Colin Kaepernick. But to me, I'm excited most about the fact that this is the start of football. For football fans that have longed to see guys on the field, tonight we get to see it.
It's been a long offseason. You talk about all the things that have been kind of in the way of football. You talk about Kaepernick. You talk about the Cowboys off the field issues. You talk about draft. I mean, this has been a hot offseason for the NFL. Now we are finally here. We can honestly watch guys in cleats and guys in helmets run around and hit each other, and it's fun. It makes for a better life for all of us when football's around.
Okay, you're a guy that actually played in these games. You're the guy that went through these exhibitions. Yeah. As an established veteran, how does it differ from that, obviously, as a rookie, the first time you're putting on the uniform, playing in a game?
Well, the first game for, in the preseason, it's not for guys who are going to be your guys on Sunday. It's for guys who are fighting for their job. Listen, Jerry Jones is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He doesn't want to see Dak Prescott get nailed and his season's over while he's going into the Hall of Fame. That doesn't do him no justice. So this is for guys that are on the bubble trying to make the team and want to leave an impression and start off early, because as this thing, goes along, less reps are be given to the bench guys. I mean, the second game, you're going to see the starters get out there. They're going to get loosened up. The third game is really the dress rehearsal. And then the fourth game, I mean, it really goes to the guys who really don't have no chance. And they're going to get cut anywhere, but they're going to go out like Bravehearts and fight their tail off.
All right, for most of your career, obviously you were well established, and
you knew, I appreciate
you knew when the season was starting, where you were going to be and what your role was. But when you were a fourth-round pick,
yes,
what was it like, your first exhibition? Tell me that experience. What were you feeling? What was going through your mind?
Man, it was in Arizona, and this is when Arizona had just opened up the stadium they have now. And I remember watching the first unit, which was Alan Faneca and Jeff Hardings and all these guys that had just came off a Super Bowl. They went out there for a quarter, and then they stunk it up. And Cowher was like, listen, we're not going to start off the season like this. You're going back out there, and you're going to give me a touchdown, and then I'm going to sit you guys. Sure enough, they go back out there, and they get a touchdown. And I was on the second team, and I get out there, and I can remember not knowing my name, not knowing anything. Like, I just went blank. And you're out there, you're scrapping. And Deuce Staley was my running back, by the way. That tells you my age a little bit. And I can remember being out there, and Deuce was like, listen, guys, I know you guys are young guys. Just don't get me killed. Sure. My center at the time was Marvin Phillips, who was Aaron Rodgers' center at Cal. And me and Marvin were both rookies. We're both in there with these guys. And flat out, we had a pulling play to the left. I look at Marv. He's supposed to come down, and I'm supposed to, we had a kind of a cut block on the backside. It was pretty much I come down on 3 technique. And Marv misses, just whiffs on it. And Deuce gets crushed. 3 and out. We go back to the sideline. Russ Grimm, who was my offensive line coach at the time, goes to me. He goes, what are you doing out there? Like, this is our play. This is our bread and butter. We don't mess this up. And I started to say, well, it was Marv's fault. And Marv knew it was his fault. So I looked down the line and at him, and he kind of did one of these and turned his back and totally sold me out. And so I ate it, and I was just like, Marv, why'd you sell me out? He's like, man, I was just nervous. But that's rookies. They don't want to make mistakes. They know they're going to be nervous, but you just got to let it fly. And I remember at the end of the game, I was in the locker room, and Kevin Colbert was like, listen, so you had 6 mental errors today. Let's not let that happen again. Go get them next time. And I was just mortified. I thought I was cut after the end of the game, but obviously I ended up making the team and had a pretty solid career.
Now, we'll talk about buzz for the football season and where it's going throughout the course of the show, but I do want to ask you this. Right now, heading into the season, it seems like everybody wants to say the New England Patriots are going to repeat as Super Bowl champions. They got more talented. Yep. They didn't lose any of their components that you would think of. And an undefeated season is in the cards. And when you look at their schedule, it's very favorable for them. Do you think this team can go undefeated?
Yeah, I do. You talk about the addition of Brandon Cooks, Brady. I mean, he's coming off a Super Bowl, and he hasn't looked like he's fell back at no part near the season you looked at. I mean, listen, the guy had a 4-game suspension and came back and won a Super Bowl, right, which blows your mind at the end of the day. Defense is loaded. They've done a lot of things. They always seem to be ahead of the curve. This team is the juggernaut of the NFL. Who can stop them? I don't know. I mean, at this point, we're talking about who has a chance.
I pinpointed my date.
What's
my
that?
date is in Mexico on November 19th against the Oakland Raiders.
Why? Because it's going to be a neutral. It's going to be a neutral site.
A neutral site game. The altitude Everybody talks about that, playing in the games down in Mexico. The Raiders have a bye the week before they play that game. If they're
Byes
healthy,
necessarily don't help. Especially if you're a team that's in the rhythm. If you're a team that's kind of...
I'll take your word for it. I never had a bye.
I got you. But fair point. But if you're a team in rhythm, a bye can hurt you. But neutral site, Brady and Belichick's going to have that team prepared. I don't know. I mean, we're just praying that the Steelers or Oakland could get them. But who really knows?
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Here is our guest list for today. Diana Rossini is going to be joining us live from the Ravens camp. I wonder what she'll be talking about with us. That'll be at 7 o'clock. Todd Archer from the Dallas Cowboys will be talking to us at 8 o'clock. Damian Woody at 8:30. If you like the Avengers movies, we've got you covered. Jeremy Renner is going to be joining us here in studio at 9 o'clock. And then at 9:30, it is the guest above all other guests today. Let me tell you this, Willie Colon. Joe Tessitore is joining our show. And when you talk about the greatness that is professional boxing, Lomachenko this weekend is going to be fighting on Saturday on ESPN. And it's only appropriate that Joe Tessitore would be joining our program on a Thursday when Battle of the Network stars with Greeny and myself. Joe Tess is on ABC tonight.
That's impressive.
Did you like that?
That was amazing. For 6:10 in the morning? That's
6:10 in the morning. It's 3:10 in the morning for me. I'm from LA.
So
I'm just I have no idea what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, you're just delirious.
Like we're just rolling along here on Mike and Mike, sitting here talking football with you. And
you didn't even need a Red Bull to do that.
No, the funny thing is I don't drink coffee. Did you know that?
No.
I don't drink coffee.
I don't either.
Now
I don't like the taste though.
I'll have like the ice blended stuff.
Well, that's coffee.
But it's not really coffee.
I mean, it's essentially coffee. It's just cold.
No, it's the chocolate version of it.
I've never had that either.
Okay, you should try that sometime. It's not that bad.
West Coasters, you guys.
It's a West Coast thing. I didn't even know about. What's the thing that they brought in today?
We have Munchkins, and you didn't know Munchkins were miniature-sized donuts. No,
to me out west they're called donut holes.
Well,
because we don't have Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, here in New York we call them Munchkins.
Okay,
I mean, that's just what it is. They're
all right,
filled
I'm
with
learning.
Jelly. They're delicious. You can pop them. They're like Tic Tacs. They're awesome.
They're dangerous, though. I just had two of
them.
them.
Yeah, the danger if you have more than one in your mouth. You got to take your time.
All right. Thank you. I'll make sure I only take one at a time. Again, learning things second by second here on Mike and Mike. Willie, obviously, Colin Kaepernick continues to be in the headlines.
Yes.
And, we talked about this a lot yesterday on the program. It's to the point now for me, nothing's new here, right? I mean, it seems like it's every day that it's the same storyline. Nothing has changed. Just different voices sounding off on a particular aspect of what they're seeing or how they're feeling on it. As each day passes, though, there are more and more voices that are starting to come out. Richard Sherman. Obviously, there were a lot of rumors about Richard Sherman, and we'll talk about his place with the Seattle Seahawks a little bit later on in this program. But he came out and said this about Cap. What is it about? It's not about football or color. It's about, boy, stay in your place. Not a lot of guys are willing to step out there. So the guys that not speaking up for him are doing him a disservice. There should be a lot more guys saying something. Most guys are like, I don't want my job to end up the same way. That's Richard Sherman yesterday. And when you think about this Colin Kaepernick situation, Diana Rossini, who, again, is going to be joining the program at 7 o'clock today, she said yesterday that Harbaugh and Newsom were on the same page, but yet ownership not on the same page, which falls in alignment with what Herm Edwards said yesterday on this program.
I'm of the conclusion that he is being blacklisted. I can't sit here.
Do you think he's going to be in uniform at all? Or do you think nobody's going to touch him? And you think this is going to be something that we're going to end up having to talk about the entire NFL season?
Yes, and what bothers me, and Sherm's right. If somebody asks me the same question, like, listen, this isn't a football issue. This is a society issue. Half the league are men of black and brown color. Why aren't more standing up? And my only reply was, there are some that are down for the cause, and there are others that are down for themselves. And when it comes to your job, guys are always going to – look what happened to Brandon Marshall from the linebacker for the Broncos. He stood up and was like, hey, I'm going to ride with your Cap. And he lost endorsements. Once you start digging in guys' pockets, when you're playing for a league that doesn't guarantee your money, that scares guys. And it's a shame because if we all stood up, if more players did stand up, this maybe give Cap a chance to really bring the light and show other people, like, listen, this is bigger than football. This is an issue that affects society, the urban community, and beyond. This isn't an issue where we sit back and we say, you know what, Cap's just kind of set his brand and trying to do something his own. He's trying to bring awareness to things that affected me and my community when I was growing up, and that still plays my community. And we have to be. When I look at this, this plagues the NFL. This will forever haunt the NFL, because right now in training camp, the guys across the league will watch a video, right? And it's going to have Roger Goodell, it's going to have referees, it's going to have all this stuff about how to protect the shield, how to protect the brand. Here we are, a guy who's a part of the NFL, who's been a staple in the NFL. The NFL's not protecting him. They're throwing him out to pasture. So guys are saying, hey, you're telling every guy in the league to say, hey, protect the brand, wear the shield. But where's the shield for Colin Kaepernick?
Do you think this is hurting the NFL shield?
I think it is, and it's never good, because what you're telling the players today, if you step out of line, it doesn't matter if you DUI, you hit a woman, or you're selling drugs, or whatever the case may be. If you step over the line when it comes in regards to the flag, look, you would be the example like Colin Kaepernick is going through.
All right, how would you have handled the situation if you were on the 49ers last year?
Part of me, when I was troubled by this, because at first, I did think about my money as a player. I was like, man, if I'm a rookie, can I step out there and go through what Kaepernick's going through, or possibly never play again? But then it was my wife who, by all accounts, told me to, it was an embarrassment for me to make that comment, considering with Jim Brown, considering with Muhammad Ali, considering what some of the great athletes have sacrificed for me to have a chance and have a position to play this game and to be heard. And so my mindset was, at some point in your career, you have to stand for something. And considering what Kaepernick is protesting affects my community, how can I not? So I would have taken a knee. If you talk to other people, they were like, listen, man, it depends about where your money's at. Because if you don't have no money and you're going to take a stance, you got to be prepared to be isolated, kind of banned from any situation, so to speak, because that's how the public's receiving you. So it's a lot going on. But I think for some players, it's not that they don't believe in Cap, they don't believe in the cause. They're worried about their money, and they don't want to be judged.
Well, as we mentioned, Biscotti, the owner of the Baltimore Ravens, is holding up Cap. At least that's what Diana Rossini was reporting yesterday. Newsom came out later and said, no, that's not the case. But the coach and I are on the same page. This evoked the reaction from Dan Le Batard.
Understand the disconnect between John Harbaugh publicly saying all the positive things about Colin Kaepernick and then Biscotti saying, pray for us. I've got to go talk to our neighbors and our sponsors. And it's not the first time it's happened. It is cowardice at the very top of that league. It's not the middle managers. They might be scared too, but what they're scared of is what's atop them in that league. The cowardice goes all the way to the top, and that's where you will find it. You can now isolate what is actually happening here. And man, you cowards. You got all the bleep you money in the world. You don't have to actually answer to anybody, but this is the circumstance where you decide you're going to answer to some of your customers in that city, no less, which would probably be largely pro-Kaepernick, but not when you get to the money. All of the arguments that are racially tinged in disguise with he's not that good anymore, cut your hair, whatever. The way that this is articulated, there is no way to argue that it's basically just the owner of Baltimore saying, I'm scared of this, because his football people are like, bring it.
Yep.
It's fine. Yep. It'll make us better. Harbaugh was out in public saying, I love this guy. And now his owner, in his own words, with pray for us.
One of the things that's interesting there is he talks about the play of Colin Kaepernick. Does he make the Ravens a better team, period?
Yes, if you put Ryan Mallett and you put Colin Kaepernick, there's anybody that knows anything about football will always choose Colin Kaepernick. They have a quarterback coach in Marty Morningwig who he understands dual threat quarterbacks. He had Michael Vick in Philadelphia. He will make this thing go with Colin Kaepernick. We cannot continue to sit here and make excuses after excuses. Listen, Cap can play. We know what he's about. Put him on the field. Can he win you some games? Yes. And we all understand Joe Flacco is dealing with a back injury.
Right.
If anybody's ever dealt with a back injury, these things don't go away. There's going to be a time where he's going to get hit, he's going to get sacked, he's going to twist, he's going to get tackled, where his back's going to flare up. You need a solid number 2 in this league to propel you through the season. Colin Kaepernick's that. You're talking about the city of Baltimore, the population of 63 blacks, African Americans rather. When you want a guy that you could promote, go into the community, bridge that tension between cops and the urban and the hood, so to speak. I mean, we have to be honest about what Kaepernick can bring to the table, and it's all positive. It's not negative, especially when he's decided to say, "Hey, I'm not gonna stand. I'm not gonna kneel no more. I'm gonna stand up. My focus is football." He's already come out and say that. So what's the problem?
Mike and Mike is presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today to find out if you could save. Now, could the Ravens have saved themselves maybe this this backlash by just keeping this private instead of publicly coming out to try to gauge how maybe the public would, or sponsors or advertisers would feel if they brought in Kaepernick? If they didn't say anything, are we exhausting this to the point where it's like mind-numbing?
No. I think if obviously they kept it private, we would just be going over it. But the fact that the season is here, your number one is hurt. Ryan Mallett has done nothing for you. Here you have a quarterback that can really help you, and you are now going to the streets for approval when you make a transaction or anything regarding to your organization, you don't go to the streets. So why are you going to the streets on Colin Kaepernick? And that's what Le Batard is saying. Like, hey, stop running. At some point, enough is enough. We've made a million excuses. No more running. Either sign the guy or move on. Because right now, we have exhausted everything that you can say about Colin Kaepernick.
There's nothing new.
There's nothing new.
It feels like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, people are like, hey, what about? No, it's all BS. Nothing works. He's a football player. Sign him.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance. So you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Well, Greeny, we're halfway through another baseball season, and we're really seeing some players who stand out as winners.
Kind of like business travelers who win at business by staying at La Quinta Inns and Suites.
That's because you can put your La Quinta Returns loyalty points to work on the spot with instant free nights.
Just drive up with no reservation and instantly redeem points for a free night that same night simply by using the La Quinta app.
It's like hitting a grand slam.
With an app instead of a bat.
Well played.
Prepare to win at business by learning more about instant free nights and check out the summer rates at LQ.com.
Some reaction on Twitter, and of course you can hit us up at 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. Mike and Mike, Munchkin seems much more appropriate, although I say donut hole. Yeah, see, I'm a donut hole guy. I'm from the West Coast. This one from Steve, he's got a Steelers emblem as his logo. Says, so he's probably a huge fan of yours, Willie. Said, can't be holes because holes imply emptiness and nothingness. Thus, Munchkin is much better.
Munchkin is better. I mean, it's all about the size of it. That's why they call it Munchkin. It's just that little piece of peacefulness in a little ball.
Yeah, I mean, I call it a donut hole because it's actually the part that they take out, like, to me, of the donut.
I mean, if you want to be all logical about it, Sean, I mean,
I'm a pretty logical guy. This one also coming from another guy named Steve on Twitter says, wait a minute, you say it's cool for players to worry about their money, but an owner of a professional team can't.
I think it's bigger than that. And I think he understands that. Yes, owners have a job to worry about their brand and the product on the field, but this is a guy that can help your product. And we all understand that Kaepernick can play football. He's better than Ryan Mallett, and he's better than a lot of quarterbacks that have a job. So I think that's a poor insight on his part.
Do you know who's better than all those people that you just talked about?
Who's that?
That's right. It is Tom Brady's birthday. And you know how old he is?
I'm a man.
40.
I'm 40.
Now, I'm going to be 40 in September. I'm not.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm not.
Don't look it.
I'm not ready for that yet.
Are you nervous?
A little bit. A little bit.
I just turned 34, and I'm sitting here like, man, if 40 comes around, I don't know how I'm going to receive it. Like 35
Thanks.
next year.
You're not helping.
I know that probably doesn't help your
like,
cause at all. But I'm looking at 35, and I'm like, man, I'm halfway there to 40. 40 seems like,
You know, I was cool at 30. 30 didn't bother me at all.
Why should it? You're still young. You're
I was
still
like,
fighting
good.
shit.
Like, this is life. You know, it's just a number. As I get to 40, I think what changed it for me is my kids.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to have a teenager.
Wow.
Like, my son's going to be a teenager.
So you already having a girl talk?
That has already happened.
Really?
That has already happened.
Oh,
This
now,
first year of middle school, like, all of a sudden, you start having conversations. Like
Are you telling him the do's and don'ts, or are you trying to give him game? Because there's two different.
No, there is very different.
There's two different conversations. Are you telling him how to dress, how to do his hair?
The original conversation came up, and it was immediately like, okay, let's talk about it.
Right.
I'm like, and you can stop this conversation anytime you want.
Were you nervous?
And no, I wasn't nervous because I mean, it's just that, you know, we're gonna have. You asked, I'm gonna answer. So
I mean, you're just being a dad.
I said, so you ask the questions. I'll give you the answer, and we'll see how long this conversation lasts.
Very mature of you.
Yeah, it didn't last that long. It was like, no, Dad, I'm good. And so then at that point in time, it switches to, okay, how can I get you some game and get you more comfortable so you're not awkward or
you're not flopping around,
like
sweating.
I think this girl's cute. Like, how do I deal with this? Like, yeah, you know, you got to get past and smooth all that out.
So let me ask you a question. Now that you're turning 40, like Brady, do you wonder if there's a bucket list? Is there a bucket list for you? Things that you haven't accomplished that you want to accomplish?
Oh, this is one of them. I mean, hosting Mike and Mike's kind of cool.
I mean, this is sweet.
I mean, that's pretty good. Working here at ESPN covering college basketball, in particular with the SEC. Has been
I love all the company lines, by the way.
No,
I mean, if you're going to say.
No, but that's what I wanted to do for my profession. I knew I wanted to be in broadcasting. So getting the chance to call games and do it on Super Tuesday in the SEC, which in particular this year, plug for the SEC.
Boom.
Basketball is going to be really good this year in the SEC. It's more than just Kentucky this year. So
we hope
sure
so.
you get outside your comfort zone.
That's the only team I tune in and watch.
Okay,
so
well, good. We have them often on Super Tuesday, so thank you for watching. You know, I mean, there's places I want to go. I want to travel. I never traveled a lot. I went outside the country for the first time last year.
Where did you go?
South Africa.
Oh, nice.
And I went to Johannesburg, Cape Town, and then went safaring for like 10 days.
Nice.
It was awesome.
What did you take away from it? Any food?
Just, I'll never go to a zoo again. I'll tell you that.
Why
I mean, because just seeing the animals out in there, like in the open.
Sure.
And then thinking about like the habitats that they have at zoos.
Yeah.
And no offense, like I mean, I know people like to take their kids to zoos to see things.
It's
but
hard
I
to
saw
watch.
a cheetah take down a zebra and then eat it.
Live?
Live. You don't see that at the zoo.
That's like, wow.
I saw a rhino and an elephant literally fight for 40 minutes over a watering hole.
So you saw the real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to go to the zoo and like look at an elephant who's just pacing back and forth like
He's
this.
like, please get me out of
Like,
here.
just please, anybody help me.
Right.
Like, I just got to get out of this place. There's not enough room to roam.
Wow.
So I want to travel more though.
You just made me feel like I haven't done anything.
I want to go to Ireland because
I wanna go to Ireland.
that's my roots.
Okay.
My family lineage. So I'd like to go to Ireland. I'd like to go to Australia. I've got family that lives in Australia. Nice. Those would be two things I want to do.
Well, good for you. I hope
but
you have a
meanwhile,
good birthday.
Tom Brady.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Yeah, he's 40, and he is a man. And Gronk always has something to say, and this is what he said about Tom Brady in turning 40.
It's Gronk.
It's pretty wild. So his last day in his 30s, and you know there's nowhere else where he wants to spend it besides the football field.
What do you get a guy like that that seems to have everything for his birthday?
I get him touchdowns. He's got to catch the ball. That's all he wants. His receivers, tight ends, running backs to catch the ball. So that's probably what he wants tomorrow.
You buying that? All he really wants is Gronk to catch a pass at training camp today?
I believe
I think he wants more than that.
I believe he wants it. No, for his 40th birthday, the football field is exactly where he wants to be. This guy loves the game. He wants to be around the game. He doesn't want to be anywhere else. I mean, you just want a Super Bowl. Like, what else do you want, Tom? I kind of want him just to disappear. Him and the Kardashians, I would love to see disappear. I'm just tired of talking about him and watching him. But Tom's not going nowhere. He's talking about playing to 45, and he's trying to show the rest of the world if you want to play long, I got the blueprint for you.
So. And he's got a diet.
And he's got a diet.
He's got a diet
that requires some seaweed and some other stuff. So.
I'm good on that, even though I'm 40. I'm real good on that. All right, let's get to Nerd Notes.
Nerd alert! Nerd! News you didn't even know you needed or even want.
Well, if I was you, I'd do something about it.
These are Mike and Mike's Nerd Notes.
All right, at 40 years old, Tom Brady will be the 5th oldest player active in the NFL this season. The only player older than Brady, they're all kickers and punters.
Wow. Nerd alert!
Father Time is undefeated. Past history shows that quarterbacks in their 40s have not done well. Here's some news and notes from Elias Research. 40-year-old quarterbacks, they've never started in the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning at 39 is in 320 days is the oldest to start and win, and he did so in Super Bowl 50.
Nerd alert!
Brett Favre is the only 40-year-old quarterback to start a playoff game in the Super Bowl era. He went 1-1 in 2009, losing in the NFC Championship game to the Saints.
Nerd alert!
Most starts in a season after turning 40 is Vinny Testaverde, who made 15 in 2004 with the Cowboys.
Nerd alert!
Brett Favre's 8 wins in 2009 are the most as a starter in a season after turning 40. Only 3 starting quarterbacks started 10 games in a season after turning 40. Warren Moon, Vinny Testaverde, and Brett Favre.
Nerd alert!
Including playoffs, Tom Brady is already the winningest quarterback in history, but he's likely to become the leader in regular season wins this year. Most regular season wins as a starting quarterback in NFL history: Peyton Manning, 186. Brett Favre, 186. Tom Brady, 183. Tom Brady is currently signed through the 2019 season. If he plays through the 2019 season, that would mean 20 seasons with the Pats. According to the Live Sports Bureau, 3 players have spent at least 20 seasons in the NFL with one team, the most being Jason Hanson, 21 with the Lions.
Nerd alert!
All right, and that is your Nerd Notes. Wow. All right, Willie Colon, Sean Farnham here on Mike and Mike, sitting in for Mike and Mike on ESPN and ESPN2. All right, so what stands out on those Nerd Notes for you?
The fact that, listen, he may not have a shot when he turns 40.
Do you believe that, though? I mean, look, we're talking about the Pats, and you've been a Super Bowl champion, so let's start there. You're a Super Bowl champion. The following season, how hard is it to come back mentally and not have that hangover from success?
Well, the hangover is, it's different because the Pats have been here so many times. They kind of get it. Belichick won't allow them to kind of be complacent or lackadaisical. They are going for number 6 to rival the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brady, by all accounts, I just see him coming out guns blazing because he's passionate about it. He's already put himself on a soapbox and say, hey, I'm going to be 40 and I will be the man again. I will bring this home. He's competitive. And if you talk to a lot of people who know him, who have been around him, who know his story, all Tom does is compete, and he wants to be the best. He's in love with himself. He's in love with everything that he's entrenched with as far as health, his kids, his family, the Patriots, everything is intertwined, and that's what makes him great. So when you got a guy who's that dedicated and focused on his craft, it's hard to believe, with 5 Super Bowls, he's going to stop now.
When you look at Tom Brady now over the course of his career, greatest ever? Greatest of all time?
I think it's hard not to say. I mean,
when did it cement it in your mind? Was it the
Super
Bowl?
Yeah. Being down 28-3.
Yep.
Coming back in the second half, because going into the game, you have to get to Brady. Well, they got to him. Well, you have to mix it up and disguise blitzes and things. They did that. They did everything they said you have to beat Brady with, and it didn't work. He rallied back, won a Super Bowl, and at this point, you're looking at Brady like, man, I just got to give it to you. I just do. Like, it's gloves off. You got it, man.
This just got sent in via Twitter to me. Turning 40 is not that bad. It is really just a myth that it's all downhill after that. Said somebody else. Luke's dad just
do you feel your body?
And said, as someone who turned 50, just stop it with the whole birthday fears. Hashtag cranky old man. You can hit us up at Twitter at Sean Farnham, at Will Cologne 66.
That is I.
Yeah, because if you don't want to do the other one because he's actually a musician.
He's a salsa player, famous salsa player.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Mike and Mike here as we continue to roll along on this Thursday on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Some tweets that have been sent in to us. This one from Brandon. You both seem pretty excited about the NFL coming back. Are you excited about the college football season? Yes. All right. This one from Tyler. You have a killer Joe Tessitore impersonation. Wait till Joe comes on and actually do it, interviewing Joe Tess as Joe Tess. You're going to love it. Stick around. That's later on 9:30 Eastern this morning. This one from Chet. Kaepernick opted out of his contract. He quit. Why does he deserve another chance? Why is not brought up? He opted out of his contract. It's deep thoughts. This one. I'm so sick of hearing about Tom Brady. I want to puke. Even though he's 40, happy birthday, Tom. This guy must really love you. Let some of the quarterbacks knock him on his butt a few times, and he will be running.
Some of the quarterbacks?
That's what he said. Tina, not sure you meant quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't know. That must be a typo. Somebody also alluded to that you can't eat holes.
The donut holes?
The donut holes. You can't eat holes. So
that's
why you call them munchkins.
Again, we're tomato.
Well, it means something to some people. I mean, this is how people start their day. They have coffee. They have munchkins. They have a bagel.
They listen to Mike and Mike.
They listen to Mike and Mike. So if it's all about terminology. If it's not correct, you have to become correct, so to speak.
All right. This tweet came in from Wentzwagen. It said, Sean Farnham, you're pretty cool, bro. First time watching and listening to you.
How about our shirts?
Hold on. I already love Willie.
Why not? I mean,
who doesn't love himself some Willie Cologne?
Listen, Willie's a popular name, and anytime you put Willie and fun together, it's just a good time. So.
All right, we continue to roll along here on Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Mike and Mike here on Thursday on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app. All phone guests will appear of the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Diana Rossini is going to be joining us at 7 o'clock this morning, live from the Ravens camp. It's time for some Straight Talk, though.
Talk it.
And it's brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And Straight Talk came from one Michael Jordan. Now, MJ yesterday said simple math allows you to know that Kobe is better than LeBron James. He said, would I rank LeBron over Kobe in terms of best of all time? No, said Jordan. And a question from a camper. He said, there's something about 5 that beats 3. Kobe won 5 championships. LeBron won 3, although he's been to 7 consecutive NBA finals.
I mean, if that's Mike's math, I mean, Bill Russell.
Right, is the greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time. If we're comparing,
so Jordan is not the greatest of all time.
If we're talking about rings, and that's what he's alluding to. I mean, Mike, you're not even the greatest if we're counting rings.
Okay, I don't just do it on simple math. I actually like to watch the sport of basketball. It's kind of a passion of mine.
That's cute.
All right, when you look at LeBron versus Kobe.
Right.
Is there a debate in your mind? How close is it?
For me, if I had to pick, and if I think who's better,
I'm asking you. I'm putting you on that spot.
I think I'm going Kobe here.
Are you?
Yeah, I think I'm going Kobe being Bryant.
I go LeBron.
Why is that?
I just think, and this is the difficult thing, is because they are completely different players.
Correct.
But as I was told earlier today, if you're talking about the greatest of all time in baseball, you will compare a shortstop to an outfielder.
Sure.
Okay, and so although I can look at LeBron more in the Magic Johnson kind of facilitator, great size, can make people around him better, Kobe was an assassin as a scorer. But Kobe didn't really make anyone better. And that's a big part of it for me. Who did Kobe Bryant make better?
Well, I think if you understand your skill set and you understand who you are as a ball player, you don't need to make anybody better. I mean, once Shaq
He tried to make Smush Parker better one night in Phoenix, and that didn't go over so well when he only took 3 shots in the second half of a playoff game.
Correct, but when you talk about, a lot of what Kobe's legacy was about was the fact that, listen, he got rid of Shaq. He kicked Shaq out. Then he took it on himself, and he won. LeBron has yet to win anything with another superstar. I mean, besides another marquee-type guy.
He has more finals MVPs, though, than Kobe did.
He's also been to 7.
Shaquille O'Neal carried him for the first
LeBron
3.
has been to 7 consecutive finals and only has 3 to talk about. I mean, so at this point, Kobe's not losing finals. I mean, he's lost 1 against the Pistons, right?
No,
and
2.
They get 2 against the
he lost to Celtics
too as well. But outside of that, I mean, he's not losing finals. LeBron, he struggles. He gets there. I mean, it's hard to get to the finals. I'm not going.
Is the league more difficult now? Like when you look at these super teams and the way that the NBA has shifted.
Is it difficult? No. I mean, for LeBron, he's in the East. He's king of the East. There's nobody he's competing with.
But when you get to the finals and you're going against a team like the Warriors.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're talking about a lot of hired guns at that point. KD, Steph, Clay, Draymond. I mean, that big four, I mean, that against LeBron. And, I mean, Kyrie is a big factor, but he's
may not be a big factor for very much longer.
That's true, but he's not KD either.
No. So. But I would say this. I think when you look at overall, the NBA has really dominated the month of July. And it's been this way like the last 2 years in particular, much more so than football has. But Carmelo Anthony, quickly here, Porzingis says he's comfortable. Melo says now he's at peace. What's the odds in your mind that you think that they're both going to be New York Knicks?
They're both going to be New York Knicks. The no trade clause. Listen, Melo signed to he wrote his life away to New York Knicks. The New York Knicks own him. They can't get nothing for him. So I think Melo's like, listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to remain a Knick. I'm just going to figure it out and make it work. Nobody else is going to take me. So it is what it is.
America, it's time for some straight talk. You love your phone. Look at you. You hardly put it down. But you don't love that expensive wireless plan, do you? So what if I told you can keep that phone network and number 2 for a lot less? Well, this is me telling you. It's time to switch to Straight Talk, guys. Bring your own phone and get unlimited plans starting at just $45 a month on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Tom Brady, 40 years old today.
He's setting the trend. I mean, he's talked about it time after time. He wants to play into his 40s. He takes great care of his body.
I am directing my comments when I say stay off the weed. I'm talking about these idiotic athletes who lose millions of dollars.
Colin Kaepernick continues to be in the headlines.
Yeah, you're telling every guy in the league to say, hey, protect the brand, wear the shield. But where's the shield for Colin Kaepernick?
Now, here's Mike and Mike.
Thursday morning here on ESPN Radio, in ESPN2 and the ESPN app. It's Mike and Mike, Sean Farnham, Willie Colon, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line this hour. Diana Rossini will be joining us, ESPN NFL reporter. In fact, she'll be doing so in just about 5 minutes. She spent the last couple of days down at the Ravens camp. In the previous segment, Willie, we were talking about Michael Jordan saying simple math will tell you that Kobe is better than LeBron. 5 is better than 3.
Right, and 11 is
better than anything else
anything
in the
else,
NBA.
Right.
That is why I love this tweet from James Allred, who tweeted us at Mike and Mike. He said, according to MJ's math, Robert Horry is one of the greatest of all time.
Robert Horry, Big Shot Bob, played on multiple teams, came through. I mean, he has a point. Look at the
rings.
He has the rings to prove it. I mean, I don't know when last time I watched the show, and Greeny pointed it out. When Jordan playing, we weren't talking about rings. It wasn't until LeBron came along and we started realizing, like, listen, this kid could be surpass Jordan, that we start comparing rings.
You know, here's the thing. When you look at the NBA, everything is always about Jordan, right? That's the comparison point. If you're great now in this era, you're compared to who? You're chasing a ghost. You're chasing somebody you don't play against anymore. You're chasing against the legend that is Michael Jordan.
Correct.
It was Kobe's chase. It's LeBron's chase. It's whoever's next chase. And it's going to always be that way. I think at some point in time, and there's been a lot of people that have been tweeting and talking about, oh, but he cries and his body language. Kobe's better mentally than LeBron is. LeBron is a more skilled player. And I think you can debate all of that. But the one thing I think that is the reality is that they're trying to chase something that they will probably never obtain, and we will view players differently after they retire. I think we're viewing Kobe different now in even the short period of time that he's retired. And when LeBron's all said and done and his whole resume is complete and we know what that resume looks like, I think it's only then when we maybe appreciate LeBron more than we do right now.
I agree we're watching history, but I think D. Wade came out and when he was talking about his friend LeBron, he goes, listen, you're never going to catch him, Mike, so stop making that the goal. Just live your dream and live your legacy, because that's ultimately what you're going to be judged by. Kobe modeled his game after Mike.
Right.
LeBron wore 23 because of Mike. So there's a lineage. There's a bloodline there that they continue to kind of who's better than who. I think we're watching somebody in Kevin Durant who's surpassing both of them. I mean, I think we're watching Kevin Durant. We're seeing his his wings spread open. Now he's turned into something that I think LeBron doesn't have an answer for at this point.
You know, let me tell you a story about Kevin Durant. I was at UCLA, and a lot of the pros come and work out at UCLA during the summer. This was after he won the MVP. And he's in Los Angeles training in the middle of July. So camp starts at like 9 a.m. Before we arrived, he'd already finished an hour-and-a-half workout with a personal trainer. Gone. We go to lunch with all the campers. We come back after lunch. He is in the gym going one-on-one with James Harden, and this is after James Harden is already obviously off OKC. And he's going one-on-one, no dribbles, for an hour. I stopped, and I didn't even go to lunch. I just watched.
Just watched.
It was incredible. He then leaves. Now, again, this is a Friday in July. You've already won the MVP. You've already put in 2 workouts. Camp ends. All the coaches come back down, and we all play a pickup game at 10:30 at night. At 10:30 at night, he was wearing a weighted vest with an individual coach back on that court and did another hour and a half. He is a relentless worker. And I think you're right. I think that maybe these finals, and I think the finals kind of changed a lot of people's perspective on Kevin Durant.
Sure.
He took a lot of flack over the last year.
I mean, he delivered.
Because he made the move that he made. But then yet in the biggest of moments, he stepped up and shined brighter than anyone else.
Think about how vocal Steph Curry has been. I mean, this whole team, now that Kevin Durant has joined them, they seem to have a new swag to them, almost to the point where they're turning into the bullies on the block. They realize, like, listen, we have Jeremy Renner coming on, and one of my favorite lines from the Avengers is when Tony Stark says, you may have an army, but we have a Hulk. Now that the Golden State's saying, hey, you can have LeBron, we got KD. It's different. You can't beat us. Stop trying. Only way we're going to stop if we break the club up. And that's not happening anytime soon. So Golden State, they're just running away with this thing.
And again, when you think about it, the next line of guys that are coming in, and obviously there was a great deal of hype and expectation and a lot of talk about Lonzo Ball, a lot of it because of his father and what his father has chosen to do or say and how outlandish some of his comments have been.
Outlandish.
But blasphemy, if you want to use that as a word. There's a couple of, there's a lot of adjectives I can use to throw in there.
Tapping on Michael's door.
All right, but I would say that the expectation level is increasing. And when you look right now, too, I mean, Michael Porter, who's going to play at Missouri this upcoming season, is expected to be the number 1 pick in the draft this upcoming year. If Marvin Bagley, who has tried to reclassify
the power forward
out of California, and I've seen him play a half a dozen times, he is a tremendous talent. I think it would be a race between those two. And any team that Marvin Bagley goes to, by the way, it increases their chance to win a national championship in college basketball this year at least twofold. I mean, he's that good of a player. And so you're seeing younger kids come up and they're ready to go. They're ready to play.
The issue is when they don't deliver, they kind of get put out there. So, for a young guy to come into the league or possibly, compete for a national championship right off the bat, it just shows you the growth of today's player. I mean, these guys are ready to plug and play.
And one guy that's waiting to play is Colin Kaepernick. And, of course, yesterday, ESPN NFL reporter Diana Rossini, who was at the Ravens camp, reported that Ravens owner Bisciotti holding up the signing while Newsom and Harbaugh were saying they were on the same page. And then Newsom came out and said, no, that's not.
He backed off it.
That's not the case. The owner's not holding it up. And with that, we welcome in here to Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program at fuelrewards.com/gold. Diana Rossini, How are you doing? Thank you for joining Mike and Mike. Sean Farnham, Willie Colon with you.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on today.
This is so different. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I joined you on SportsCenter during the NCAA tournament, and you were interviewing me, and now I get to turn the tables, and I get to interview you. This is kind of exciting.
I know they finally put the professional in the host chair here.
Oh,
so there
no,
you go,
come
Sean.
on. Don't say that.
Well, someone's got to help you out. I heard, a lot of people have been talking about, your production there on the show, and, you're getting average numbers. So I'm here to help you to get those numbers up right now.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Obviously, you had a good time in Baltimore. The good thing was there was nothing to talk about while you were there, and you were trying to reach and really pull for a story. But somehow, some way, something happened, and now we talk Colin Kaepernick with you. What do you feel about what Ozzie Newsome said when he came out and kind of basically contradicted your report?
Yeah, well, I feel like the Ravens had to probably respond to what I reported. But if you actually see what I reported and what I've been talking about on SportsCenter and NFL Live, was basically that both John Harbaugh and Ozzie Newsome, the general manager, are on the same page. They both want to bring Colin Kaepernick onto this roster because of his football ability, but they're getting resistance from the owner, which is different than the word block. He hasn't been able to make that decision on whether or not he wants to go for it just yet. We know as an owner, he's got to look at this organization globally. He has to look at all the different parts of it. Coach, GM, they're looking at a position right now where they have a hole, and that's because Joe Flacco is sidelined. He's got this back injury, and there's no specific timeline for his return. Ryan Mallett has taken over first-team reps, and I was at practice on Monday and Tuesday, and I was able to witness their offense and watch some of their full-team drills, and you could obviously see that Ryan Mallett is struggling quite a bit, and their offense just does not look sharp. And it's difficult for them to get ready during the preseason here, or at least during training camp. The quarterback can't run the offense. So that idea that John Harbaugh, who I think we pointed out many, many times, as we know, his brother, Jim, coached Colin Kaepernick and feels very comfortable with the information he's been able to gather on Kaepernick's ability to play football, that he would like to bring him on. But right now, it's still on the table, but it seems that at this point, it's not going to happen.
Diana and Willie Colon here. You just mentioned that Ryan Mallett is struggling. I mean, you know Kaepernick's resume. You know Ryan Mallett's. Why isn't this as simple as, hey, Kaepernick's available. He's a better quarterback. Get him in there so the Baltimore Ravens have a guy that can run the helm. Why aren't we struggling with this altogether?
Because really there's so much more to it. He is a controversial player, and he does come with a lot of pushback. And I think the owner is looking at this as, okay, from a football standpoint, yes, this makes sense. But he's a self-made billionaire. He's run a company that's been able to make a lot of money, and he's smart, and he's looking at all different parts of it, not just one department. He's not just looking at the football part of this. He's looking at ticket sales. He's looking at suite holders. He's looking at sponsorships, public relations, short-term, long-term. And I think that's why you have to give him some credit here, because he's at least trying to see what works. And he's been very transparent about it with the public, with the media on Sunday in Baltimore. He was part of an open fan forum where they discussed some of the struggles they're having making this decision. And this is really the only team that we've seen be so open and public about potentially bringing Colin Kaepernick on, because we can report, at least we've been able to gather information at ESPN, that there's been one other team that the football group, we'll say the coach and the GM, wanted to sign Colin Kaepernick, and the owner just said no, absolutely not. So at least in Baltimore, these guys are trying to take a look at what could work for them, both in the short term and the long term. And right now it seems that they can't make that decision.
Diana Rossini joining us here on Mike and Mike with Sean Farnham and Willie Colon on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 and the ESPN app. And you mentioned one other team. I would ask you this. Diana, it seems like the longer this goes out, the more dramatic this is getting in Baltimore. At what point in time do the Baltimore Ravens say, you know what, yes, or no, but we've got to end this because it's now becoming a distraction for our training camp and us preparing our team for the season?
I know, and this team has tons of injuries right now. That's really the story of Ravens camp. At least it was when I was there on Monday and Tuesday. And before I actually filed the report, I asked Coach straight up in front of everybody. I said, if you were done talking to Colin Kaepernick and it was off the table, would you let us know? Because I was thinking the same thing, Sean, of at what point do you just say, okay, this isn't going to work, and this is distracting from everything else we're trying to do. And Coach was doing everything he possibly could to change the narrative to, hey, and this guy, and we've got this player, and I appreciate what he was trying to do. But his response to me was, I like talking to Colin Kaepernick. I hope I can always talk to Colin Kaepernick. I'm anxious to see what we do. So it was very revealing, and this was even before I filed that report yesterday. It's very revealing that he's still not even sure, but he wants him on the team, clearly, because I do believe that he thinks that Colin Kaepernick can make this team better right now.
You talk about injury. What is the timetable on Joe Flacco's back?
So I was told by John Harbaugh, actually, he was nice enough to actually do an interview with us on SportsCenter, and he said that Joe Flacco will most likely be back during the preseason. And when I just pushed back and said, well, what about the regular season? Is he certainly in for week one? He said, oh, yeah, absolutely. So while I still think we all know with back injuries in regards to quarterbacks, you always have to be very careful. And he did say that as well. That they're projecting that he should be back over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Diana Rossini joining us here, our NFL reporter here at ESPN on Mike and Mike, Sean Farnham, Willie Colon. You mentioned this just a second ago. You said at least one other team was wanting to sign Colin Kaepernick, but then the owner basically blocked it. I know it's speculation, but how many other teams do you think this has maybe gone up the chain and then has been stopped immediately?
Well, I think it's definitely been – the conversation has been had in a lot of different organizations. Just casually, I've reached out to different teams over the last 6 weeks, specifically the last 2 weeks for teams that I thought, just when I was looking at the roster, right, who could use a Colin Kaepernick right now. And the take I get from just – we'll just call it a small survey – that idea that a backup quarterback would bring so much distraction seemed to be the most common answer. If it didn't come with all this wave, I don't think it necessarily had us to do with his actual stance, what he did last year. Because remember, too, or not remember, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but the Ravens did share that Colin Kaepernick had said that he would not be protesting the national anthem this upcoming season. So he's already taken that off the table. He's going to go out there and play football. But there are some organizations that don't believe that that's going to be enough. In other words, he's still going to probably find other ways to draw attention. And for a backup, for a team that's trying to get ready, at least for the regular season, it's just not worth it.
All right, Diana Rossini, our NFL reporter here at ESPN, join us on Mike and Mike. Diana, appreciate all your insight, firsthand knowledge from being at the Ravens camp over the last couple of days. We continue to roll along here on Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app. And, we've obviously broken down the Colin Kaepernick situation, but we have football tonight. And Mike and Mike is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from your range of coverage. Name your price tool to find the price that works best for you. And for the NFL season to start, there's a lot of people that are obviously very excited. I'm excited. I'm excited to see football. Yes, basketball is my first love, but I'm excited to watch NFL football. But I would say this. The summer league, which is exhibition games basically in the summer, and it's not a lot of the headliners. It's all a bunch of rookies and the guys that are trying to fight to get invites to camp and are going to play a lot overseas. And the NBA had a great buzz about it. The NFL exhibition season, as we start this exhibition season, as we start this NFL season, I feel that it has been overshadowed by the NBA.
Well, I think the hardcore fan knows that in preseason you're not going to see your stars play.
Right.
You're going to see them in the third game. They're going to have probably their most reps all the way up to halftime. They're probably going to the third a little bit, depending on the ball club. But overall, you're not going to be watching Breeze and Brady and these guys light it up this preseason. I mean, it's pretty much a bunch of guys trying to fight for their jobs and get after it. I mean, are you excited to see Deshaun Watson?
Yes.
Sure. Or are you excited to see Myles Garrett down in Cleveland? Yes. But those guys are going to be playing on Sunday, so you won't see a lot of them. So a lot of fans are kind of just, biting at the bit. They're just waiting at it. It won't be a lot of buzz until the opener.
Okay, but when we look at the NFL Summer League game, the NBA Summer League games, all right, you're talking about Lonzo Ball, De'Aaron Fox, Markelle Fultz, Jason Tatum. You're not talking about Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and those players. And yet the excitement level, I mean, they were selling out in Vegas. The Lakers were selling out in Las Vegas.
Let's be honest. It was when it comes to Lonzo Ball, it was a circus. The circus was selling the ticket.
Okay, but how does the NFL create that same kind of buzz? Can they create that same kind of buzz?
I don't think they want it. Would you want, let's just say, if Myles Garrett's dad started talking all this madness and more fathers come out and talked about what they're...
It's going to happen. You know that now.
I don't think... But football's different. It's a team sport, not one guy...
Basketball's a team sport.
It is, but I feel like if you have a LeBron James, he's a huge... I can't even say that because you can say that same thing about Tom Brady. But overall... It's just a different field. The circus, the things that led up for the Summer League to be big was the balls. I mean, they made the circus.
So does the NFL not need it?
No, I think they have enough on their plate. They don't need somebody's father kind of guaranteeing playoffs and championships. I don't think that works.
But as tonight's game goes, what should fans enjoy about tonight's game? Simply that there's football on television?
That football is back. You're going to see a bunch of guys going to compete really hard. This is a situation where this pretty much kicks off the season, so to speak. And this is going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of guys out there who are going to give it their all because they know their job's on the line. And you're going to see, for the NFL standpoint, you're finally getting back to football. And I'm not going to jump out there and say Colin's a distraction, but a lot of fans just want to talk about football.
A lot of fans are tired of talking about Kaepernick.
They're tired of talking about Kaepernick.
I'm tired of talking about
But if
Colin
the
Kaepernick.
NFL wants to go the way, help the man find a job.
All right, NBA, maybe a younger generation sport, because when you look at the median age of the TV viewer in 2016, Major League Baseball's 57 years old.
It's old.
Okay. The NFL is 50.
Wow.
The NHL is 49, and the NBA is 42.
Well, I think people are, besides the OBJs and Antonio Browns of the world, I think more people are willing to play basketball. They identify with the players. They feel like it's a safer sport. And more parents are talking about, hey, I don't know if I want my kid to play football. There's baseball and basketball. There's soccer. So I think you're starting to see parents and the culture change a little bit because of all the stories that are coming out about how dangerous football is.
And I think that's changing. I mentioned this yesterday. I have two boys. My sons are not going to play football.
You made that decision.
Because my wife will not allow that to happen. And I think there are more and more people that and parents in particular, when they see the CTE study that came out last week, that panic. And look, there's still a great deal that is unknown. Right. But because of it, there are parents that will make the decision and say, you know what, now that risk reward isn't worth it for me.
Okay.
I'll ask you this, because you obviously played in the NFL, had a great career in the NFL, won a Super Bowl. Does it concern you when you see that study come out?
Yes, because you don't know if you have it until you passed. That's the only time they can discover if you have CTE. It's troubling when people talk about the game of football because for me, when Jamal, and this is a reference to Jamal Adams, the first-round draft pick for the New York Jets, who's currently the safety, his passion came out. And it came out. He mentioned nothing in the reference of CTE. He was talking about his passion and where he feels at peace. I am a guy who, if you talked to me a couple years ago, I was the same guy. I'd rather go down on the field because this, for me, the game of football is a calling. It wasn't a job. It wasn't something that I felt like because I was big and athletic that I can just do this. I felt like this was my calling. So I embraced it. I preserved it, and I lived in that euphoric mindset because it gave me so much. If you ask a lot of players, will they do it all over again, knowing all the trouble that they may suffer down the road? A lot of them are going to say yes. But what I do notice is I talk to a lot of guys that I've played with. They won't let their sons play, but they will go back and play, which is interesting. You won't let your son go play, but you will sign right back up and go do it. But because that's the fear factor. They don't want to watch their kids suffer like they have suffered.
Right.
But they understand what the game has given them and how much it means to them from a standpoint. So it's a very interesting conversation. Me personally, if I had sons, I wouldn't let them play till they're in high school because I feel like kids, Pop Warner, their brains are not developed. They're not developed. It's way too young to have that type of contact, and that's just where I stand on it.
Scary thing for me, being a UCLA guy, the story of Brian Price, and what he's going through, and jumping through the window of the glass door at the store, and all that, and it's just scary. It's scary, and I think that scare factor is scaring a lot of parents that are trying to make that same decision. But I agree with you. I think taking hits at a young age, it's pointless.
No,
you can learn how to tackle without getting crunched with somebody else.
If you love football and you want to start your kids off in football, start off in flag.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Well, Greeny, we're halfway through another baseball season, and we're really seeing some players who stand out as winners.
Kind of like business travelers who win at business by staying at La Quinta Inns and Suites.
That's because you can put your La Quinta Returns loyalty points to work on the spot with instant free nights.
Just drive up with no reservation and instantly redeem points for a free night that same night simply by using the La Quinta app.
It's like hitting a grand slam.
With an app instead of a bat.
Well played.
Prepare to win at business by learning more about instant free nights and check out the summer rates at LQ.com.
All right, some tweets that are coming in. First of all, one of them about donuts. It's neither a munchkin or a hole. It's in the shape of a ball. Therefore, I call them donut balls. Now, you said you called it munchkin.
I said it by accident.
And then during the break, you're sitting here and you said, "Oh, did you have a donut hole?"
Right. I
think that you're kind of lying to America. That's what I took from that.
Not lying to America. It was just a simple mistake on my part. I call them munchkins.
All right, then there's this one. It says, can you blame the Ravens? Look at all the hysteria. This over a backup quarterback that has created. You don't need it.
Sign Kaepernick. Bottom line.
All right.
Sign him.
How about just end it? Either say you're going to sign him or not.
Right, exactly.
But let's move on from it. Kobe versus LeBron. You scream LeBron while taking a shot. No, you scream Kobe because he's the better player. Hashtag facts. Kobe. Yeah. So it's Mike and Mike. It's Thursday. It's Willie Colon.
What's
John
up?
Farnham. Football is back. We've been talking a lot about that. We'll be talking more about it coming up in the next hour. Todd Archer, ESPN NFL Nation Cowboys reporter, is going to be joining us, getting us set for the game tonight and also the big weekend. Jerry Jones going into the Hall of Fame. Kurt Warner going into the Hall of Fame. You played against him in the Super Bowl. But right now it's time for some over-under brought to you by La Quinta. Book at LQ.com and win at business. Hembo, what you got?
Guys, today is Tom Brady's 40th birthday, you might have heard. So our over-under is 43.5, the age in which he retires.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Where you going?
I'm going over.
You going over?
I'm going over. This diet, the sleepwear, and all the future other marketing merchandise things that Tom Brady's going to bring to the table. Plus, it's the system. I think the system is in place. They will protect him. They will have the right pieces around him. He will continue to flourish. He will continue to have success.
I'm going under. His contract is up this year. I feel like he's not going to play for any other team besides the Patriots. And I think at some point you got to start preparing for the future. And Belichick is all about the future.
Sean, do you think he's going to outlast Jimmy Garoppolo there then?
Yeah, I do. I think eventually they're going to have to get rid of Jimmy. And then they'll have to find somebody else, and they will, and they always do. It's just the Patriots' way. I think they'll find somebody else. They'll trade Jimmy. They'll end up drafting somebody that's going to become the next Tom Brady. They're going to give him 2 or 3 seasons underneath him, and then things will continue to roll along, and we'll continue to get mad. Everybody that's not a Patriots fan going, this isn't fair. How does this continue to happen?
I think this is a no-brainer. You got to get rid of Brady. Jimmy G's the future. You already have a team locked in place.
You want to get rid of Brady right now?
Well, I think you send him on his way. It's about the future. This team's locked in place. You have a bunch of juggernauts.
Wait. I want to confirm that.
Let me finish my story.
No, because I'm confused.
I'm trying to tell you. If you get rid of Brady or you let Brady go.
Now, today.
Well, no, at the end of the season.
Okay.
Right. And you let him go. You put Jimmy G in his place. He already has the surrounding cast around him that can propel the Patriots getting forward. You're not going to skip a beat. That's just my logic.
I don't get rid of Tom Brady ever. It's like as a 49er fan, I hated when they got rid of Joe Montana.
Did you buy his sleep pajamas? Because you sound like you love.
He didn't have sleepy pajamas. Montana didn't have that back in the day.
Well, Brady does.
He did commercials, but he didn't have that. That was not one of his apparel deals. I like Steve Young, though, too. I mean, I'll be honest. I like Steve Young.
I don't think you understand anything. Who you like. You don't know donut hole. You don't know donut balls.
I just know this. I don't think getting rid of Tom Brady's a good idea.
I think after this year, it's something to think about.
All right. Well, I'm going to let America ponder that.
Our next over-under is 22.5, the number of sacks Von Miller will have this season.
Yeah, now, he came out yesterday, and he was talking about getting 30.
Well, he's had
30 sacks. He said you got to get 10 in the first 5 games. And then once you do that, you kind of set yourself up to get to 30. I'm going to go under this year. I'm going to go under. I think it's a lofty goal. I think he's one of the best. I think the division he is incredibly difficult. I think the offensive lines in his division is pretty good. I think it's going to make it difficult on him to get all the way to 30. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to even get past 22.5.
I'm going to go over. I think it's possible, but he has to understand he did put himself on the radar by saying he wants to now go get 30. But they can move him around. He doesn't necessarily have to line up at his key position at outside linebacker. He can go inside. They can use him all blitzes. They can disguise him and kind of make it work if that's what they want for him. But now that he put himself on the radar, it's going to make his job harder, but I think it's possible.
All right, gentlemen, over under 4.5, the number of rings for LeBron to rank him ahead of Kobe.
I'll let you go first on this one.
I'm going to go over. I think Kobe, I think LeBron's legacy, we're still talking about it. I think he still has a chance, but I don't think him going anywhere else, he's going to get it. I think it's interesting that we have to see where he lands next year, and then we can start putting more input into it. But right now, I think he can walk away 4 or 5.
I don't think he's getting 4 or 5. I mean, maybe 4, but certainly not 5.
Okay.
Certainly, if the rumors are true and he's going to leave Cleveland, and if he ends up in L.A., he's not getting one in L.A. He'll make L.A. better. He'll make L.A. relevant. But if you even add him and Paul George to the Lakers, they're still behind where the Golden State Warriors are as long as that crew can stay together in Golden State.
There's a chance he goes to San Antonio. What would you say there?
I would still put them behind Golden State.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I like Kawhi Leonard. I think they already are done with LaMarcus Aldridge down there. They've tried to get rid of him this offseason. I don't think LeBron in his championship winning days are in front of him right now.
Wow.
So you think that LeBron plus Kawhi would not
Which
be
I think is ridiculous.
Than the Warriors quartet?
Kawhi, LeBron,
that is correct.
And G-Pop together. I mean, that's the holy trinity right there. So I don't buy that one.
All right, who's the point guard?
LeBron.
Okay.
Okay.
If you're rolling with that, I'll still take KD, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry.
You put LeBron James on the San Antonio Spurs, you got championships, my friend. Bottom line. And this is coming from a football player.
All right, guys, our next over-under is 4.5, the number of front offices that would have signed Kaepernick, but their owner said no.
This is I think I'm gonna go under here. I think a lot of teams do have good quarterbacks. Other teams who probably realize that they can use Cap. I think they just feel like the distractions are a problem. So I think there's only a handful of teams that realize, listen, he can help. We can work with him, but people want to put out the distractions. I think that's another excuse.
I'm going under, and I would say this to all NFL owners. Take the example of the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, fine, we can credit them for actually coming out and saying something and saying, hey, we're looking at Colin Kaepernick. We're exploring how he could fit in potentially too. Just rip the Band-Aid off if you're going to do it. If you're going to do it, sign him. If you're not going to sign him, don't sign him. Okay,
don't talk about it.
But when you talk about it, all it does is literally makes me want to take my head and slam it against this desk every day, because all we're doing is beating up Colin Kaepernick. We're talking about what's wrong, why is he not signed, why is this, with really nothing to really hold on to other than the fact that you're dangling it out there saying, guess what, we may or may not sign him. Tell us what you think now. Call the Ravens at 1-800-BALTIMORE-RAVEN.
It's all publicity. That's all it sounds like.
Yeah.
I would love to see you put your head through that desk, by the way.
I might do it.
It would have made my money.
I got to work with you again tomorrow, too, so it might happen by the end of the show tomorrow.
We got a couple helmets out there. We can strap you up.
That's good. I'll be concussed. Go ahead.
Our next over-under is 70, what Steph Curry will shoot in his opening round at the Ellie Mae Classic.
Over. Over. I mean, you're a professional, but you're starting in another field full of professionals. And while it's not a PGA Tour event, it's a Web.com event. The pressure is on. Most of the eyes in this tournament field and the fans that are going to be there, are they watching the guys that are on the Web.com tour, or are they going to be following down Steph Curry? It's going to be different. It's different than even the American Century Golf Championship that takes place up in Lake Tahoe. He's a good golfer. He shoots over 70.
The par is 70 at the course. So, listen, he's a champion. He knows how to win. He's going to get it done. He's a competitor. So if I'm going to lean on anybody, I'm going with the man who just won a ring.
I like it. Our next over-under
just went against him when we were talking about LeBron going to Spurs, but that's okay.
Different conversation.
Our next over-under is 14.5, the number of wins for the Patriots this season.
All right, I'll let you go first here.
I can see 14. There's not a lot of teams I think that can really even match up with them from a competitive standpoint, let alone a matchup standpoint. So I think the Pats are due for 14. It's not far-fetched. You got Brady. You got that offense. The defense is always not going to be it's not going to wow you, but they're always going to do what they do. They bend, they don't break. So I give it to them.
All right, I'm going to buy a point and take it down to 13.5, and then I will say the over. Because I agree with you. I think it's going to be about 14. I don't think it's going to be 15. They're going to take a loss. Again, I think their first loss probably comes in Mexico City when they take on the Raiders on the 19th of November. You look at how their schedule lines up. It's a very favorable schedule. The division is incredibly weak across the board. So I think that obviously benefits the Patriots. But I'm going to buy a point, go down to 13.5, and then I'll say the over.
They could also be 14-1 going into the last week of the season and just rest everybody, too.
That's true.
That's true, too.
Our last one is 1.5, the number of legs Michael Jordan would need to beat LeVar Ball one-on-one.
I'll go with under. No. You know what? If you're playing basketball, in all seriousness, if you're playing basketball, obviously, if you're going against somebody that has 2 legs, you probably need 2 legs, too. So I'm going to go with the over.
I give it to Mike. He can beat LeVar Ball on a peg leg and just a regular leg. I think I'm more annoyed that Mike commented on this situation. I think he's so above it. But the fact that he did shows you that Mike is a true competitor. If you come at him, he's going to come at you back, even though he's considered the god of basketball. So, but Mike, don't entertain LeVar Ball no more. Enough. It's a circus.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
All right, time now for some tweets here on Mike and Mike. Sean Farnham, Willie Colon on ESPN2. This one from Polar Vortex.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. Mike and Mike, in his prime, the Black Mamba was absolute assassin that never quit. LBJ is thin-skinned child. Again, talking about the emotional aspect of it. I think that's a little harsh on LeBron.
It matters.
You think it's harsh? Is it too harsh?
No, LeBron seems to watch and listen to everything. I mean, you talk about his responses to, people like Stephen A. And when he's criticized, he responds. Kobe's like, doesn't mean nothing.
All right, talking about Von Miller saying that his goal is for 30 sacks. The record's 22.5. Didn't Chris Johnson say he could get 2,500 yards? Hashtag calm down, Von.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with having goals, and maybe they may be lofty, but if you believe in them, you can get it done. The problem is you put yourself out there. You know you're going to get double team and triple team. He ended up with 13.5 last year, which hindered him. But if he has a recipe for it, I'm willing to see it.
Listen, the league is also more pass happy than it's ever been.
Correct.
All right, so you're not running the ball as much as it was obviously in the 80s, even in the early 90s. Less and less are we seeing the ground and pound attack from a lot of teams. So I think that does open up the opportunity, obviously, to have more sacks if you can get off the line and beat that double team.
Right, and at the end of the day, when you look at Von Miller and what he's capable of doing, he's a havoc. He's a nightmare. He can make it work.
All right, this one came in about Tom Brady and when he would retire. First hint of a concussion, Giselle will pressure him to retire this season. It will be it.
She is the wife. She is the future. She will have the final say. I agree.
And he is Willie Colon, and I am Sean Farnham, and these are tweets on Mike and Mike. You can tweet us at Mike and Mike as we continue to roll along on this Thursday morning on ESPN2. Sean Farnham, Willie Colon here on ESPN Radio. Are you flexing?
Right there, baby. Just felt like I had to get that out.
Did you work out this morning before you came?
I worked out yesterday, and I'm a little sore, but I feel all jacked up.
All right, we'll get to that in just a second.
My peach polo may not be very promising, but
people are digging our shirts today.
I know.
They're all over Twitter on that. And, of course, that brings us to Mike and Mike, reminding you that if you want to get in touch with us, tweet us at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes a summer birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for $29.99, you get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. You can also tweet us at Sean Farnham, at Will Cologne 66.
Yes.
Don't go with the other guy. He's a salsa singer. He's really good. But
he's actually a sheriff, too, up in Westchester, too.
Okay, so you worked out yesterday. When you work out now, how different are your workouts from when you were a player?
It's really circuit training. It's different because I'm not doing the hang cleans and the heavy squats. I'm just trying to stay toned up and monitor the tempo, so to speak, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you've got to, take pride.
Yeah.
My old coach, Jim Herrick at UCLA, said pride. You know what pride is? Personal responsibility and a daily effort. That's what Coach Herrick used to say with his little drawl.
With me being on TV now, I've had a lot of fat joke comics, so I'm trying to all right, I got to slim it up, big fella. So.
All right, so did you do you want to slim it up? I mean, what's your ultimate goal now?
I have to slim it up. I mean, I'm not playing no more. This is all battle armor. I'm not in battle no more, so now it's time to get TV Hollywood ready like yourself.
All right, good. I try to stay ready at all times.
Stay ready. You don't have to get ready.
This is a good job, right?
This is an amazing job.
We're talking sports. We're here on Mike and Mike, filling in for Mike and Mike. But there's another job that, as I mentioned, is out of this world. According to Time.com, you can now earn a six-figure NASA job. Do you want to know what you will be doing for this six-figure job? For NASA? You're not going to be an astronaut. You're not flying anywhere.
Making donuts in space?
Although we've had some munchkins today. We've argued over whether or not they're donut holes, munchkins, whatever. All I know is this. I've had a couple. They're really good. I like them. I'm going to have a couple more probably before I get out of here. And whoever brought them today to the studio, if you want to bring them tomorrow,
just keep bringing them.
I would accept that as well.
There you go.
But here it is. If it's your dream of defending the Earth from extraterrestrial life, again, this is a real story from Time.com. NASA has the perfect job for you. And it actually pays well. The space agency has a job opening for a planetary protection officer. Business Insider reports the job, which pays between $124,406, I don't know how they came up with that, to $187,000 a year, plus benefits, will involve preventing alien contamination during NASA space missions. They're also supposed to prevent an alien microorganism from reaching Earth.
This is amazing. This is real live video game stuff. You have a chance to be.
Do you want this job?
If things don't work out, I'll go in space and fight some aliens. I mean, why wouldn't you? The problem that this is alarming because it makes you feel like there's possibility there's aliens out there. Well, I think there's aliens out there. I believe in it. Yeah, I believe in aliens.
I mean, you watch the news. I mean, it seems like we have a lot of things to worry about. This just adds another element to the plate here for me.
I don't know how much gangster I have in me if I see an alien. That's the problem. I don't know if I can stand up and be like, all right, I'm taking you down because you're a problem. I think part of me will run or float away if I'm in space, so to speak.
This is a full-time gig. They have similar positions already. Many space agencies employ planetary protection officers on a part-time basis.